so much. Our set is going to be open for.
Everyone, thank you so much for the heat. We get started. I want to make a mini pop-up exhibit about Raina Lee at the front of the bar. We have some artifacts and stuff from the archive and from the collection of my very special guest, Miss Glenda Gardner. You'll also find some information about the kinds of items that we're looking for the archive, so feel free to pick up one of those sheets there. As always, this is a casual discussion, so feel free to grab a drink throughout. You need to go to the bathroom, just squeeze through. It's not a formal show or anything. I want this to be a conversation, not a lecture. So I'd like to hear from as many of you as possible, and we have a lot of folks here who actually knew the person we're speaking about tonight. So we will have a microphone up here. I encourage you to come up and use the microphone so that we get your voice on tapes, hear your story, and share it with other people. We are live streaming, and so hello to the folks in YouTube. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will also share this video and have it, you can watch it whenever you like. I'm on through. We got lots of food coming in. If you'd like more information about Yesterqueer or how to sign up for our newsletter or volunteer, we have a sign-up sheet up front, and there will be a QR code at the end of the presentation if you'd like to do so digitally. With that, welcome to Remembering Raina, the Mother of Pride. I'd like to invite my guest up. You don't get to sit in the audience all night, Glenda. You got to come up and join me up here. So my very special guest tonight is Glenda Gardner. Let's hear it for Glenda. Yes. Glenda has been a longtime community leader, having been involved in a number of LGBTQ organizations and institutions over the year, including the Imperial Court in Fort Worth, Arlington, the Cowtown Leatherman, the Tarrant County Gay Alliance, the Tarrant County Gay Pride Week Association.
And they brought our license plate numbers down, then they published them in the newspaper the next morning. And that was the Fort Worth Press.
But they would also go around and see how long you've been, if it's still there 2 hours later or 3 hours later, so they could go around the corner and
Yep. And even down when the church was down on Hemphill Street, corner of Hemphill and Page, Agape Street, Reverend Jim Norwood, we had to park across the street and we had to fight protesters to get in church. And I'm fixing to finish this, there was a 3-garment rule, I don't know if y'all know about that, but if you were in a bar, and you being a gentleman, if you did not have on 3 items of men's clothing, you were immediately taken to jail where you were beaten. If you were a butch girl who didn't have on 3 articles of feminine clothing, you were taken to jail, and many were raped. Right here in Fort Worth. And how it stopped was the bars, thank you bars, the bar owners and the churches got together, filed a lawsuit against the Fort Worth Police Department, and we won. Now, on to Raina Lee. That's kind of where it was. We had that kind of fight going on before we even thought about gay rights. And when I think about Raina, what I think about is a song called "To Serve with Love." Y'all remember? It says, "What do you do to thank someone who has taken you from crayons to perfumes?" That's Raina. She loved us so much. If you walked in the door, you knew you were loved. That's who she was. And she didn't think it was right that we were not able to celebrate Gay Pride here in Fort Worth. So she talked a lot of us into making that effort, and we did. And with her guidance, we picked out and I don't know if y'all have ever heard of Raina Lee Hill, but that was the very first picnic.
Oh, hang on, Glitter. We'll get to that in a sec. So just, before we start out, just a little bit about the person. She's best remembered to friends, of course, as Raina Lee, but born in July 28th, 1949, and raised in Fort Worth and Waxahachie. Gary Freeman Taylor showed an early proclivity as a performer while serving as a drum major at Waxahachie High School. He attended Navarro Junior College on a baton twirling scholarship. That's right. They have a baton twirling scholarship. Which was a skill set that strangely would serve him later in life.
Yes.
And Glenda, you told me a little about his baton twirling skills.
That he auditioned to do his first drag show, and that was his talent. And he could twirl batons, and he got the job. I think it was the Mad Hatter in Arlington that hired him to do that.
So, after college, when he came back to Fort Worth in 1975, on Halloween night that same year, he first stepped on stage as Raina Lee at the 500 Club on Magnolia Avenue. And that building is still standing. You've probably seen it. It's a quirky little building across from Spice. It's still standing today. And the inspiration for his drag persona was actress Ruta Lee, who's a Fort Worth favorite. Ruta famously borrowed Taylor's tiara for her performance as a title character in Casa Manana's production of The Unsinkable Molly Brown in 1980. So I would love to find a picture of Ruta wearing that tiara, but I searched. Alas, no luck. But as you said, dismayed by the lack of celebrations around the anniversary of the Stonewall riots in '69, which kicked off the gay civil rights movement, Taylor began hosting gatherings at his home in the late '70s, actually. And the first public gatherings were held in 1980 in Forest Park's Shelter House, which provided a place to meet in public and allow attendees to be themselves without discrimination, without judgment, and without fear. And those gatherings eventually evolved into the Pride picnics. Did you ever get to go to any of the ones that before the official events?
Yes, I did, and we did. We tried everything we could to be proud and be free and avoid the police. And finally, there came days when that was possible. But we still had to be careful. Always be careful. At that first one, at the Raina Lee Hill, it was way up on the hill above us was a church.
Yeah.
And we kept searching right here. We kept searching to make sure there was no snipers up on that hill that wanted to hurt us. And that was very hard to deal with, but we wouldn't give up.
The hill's still there, actually, as is the little shelter house. This is over, and again, I knew it as Fort God. It was actually St. Stephen Presbyterian Church. But yeah, it's a menacing looking little castle on the hill up there. Just saying, I'd be a little worried too, who was looking down. But the very first official gay pride picnic was June 19th, 1982 in Forest Park. And that's the group of folks that are there. That is Gary Taylor, aka Raina Lee, right there in the very front. You can see her, him, her. And it was immediately followed by a week-long bunch of events, all the different bars, 651, the Lumber Company, and Come Along In, which was the bar that we're in right now. Come Along In was the first gay incarnation of that. So, Taylor was involved in the formation and the leadership of a number of local organizations. In 1983, Raina Lee was voted as Empress 5 in the Imperial Court de Fort Worth, Arlington. which was a title she maintained into reign 6 as the first back-to-back empress in the organization alongside Emperor Dale Glenn. The two also served over the largest court with approximately 300 members. Tell us a little bit about the court, because I think I don't probably. Is anybody here familiar with the Imperial Court at Fort Worth, Arlington? I know some of the folks are. Most people probably are not.
My mom was
The Imperial Court is a charity-based organization. It started in California, and then it came here, and I was a member of the very first court here in Texas. It was 1979, and it started up, and it was a charity group, and we were 501c3, C4, and everything we did went to charity. And as of this day, they're still in existence, still working hard, and they've raised over several $1 million right here in Fort Worth that's gone to charity.
Hey, Glenn, I'll say something about, we don't having the exterior courts and stuff. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, there was somebody that, we had the court stuff, they wouldn't allow us to come back. You remember any of that?
when they found out that we were a gay,
When they found out that we were a gay charity organization, because we booked big hotels and things like that. And when they found out who we really were, we didn't hide it, but when they found out they didn't, even though we weren't welcome to that, even though we did nothing wrong. But it took a long time to get people to understand what we were and what we did. And she was so inspirational and full of love. She never met a stranger. And we put together and raised a lot of money. When AIDS started, we raised a lot of money and opened the Fort Worth Counseling Center right down the street. It's not there anymore. Now it's turned into the AIDS Outreach Center. And we helped many people when no one else would. They turned their back on them and just walked away. And they kept asking me, and this is just me, they said, how can you hug those people? How can you do that? We don't even know how this is spread. And I told them, I said, well, I don't know if you're religious, but I am. And if God gives you a gift and tells you to use it, then you need to use it. And I said, I don't walk in fear. And they would cry because we loved them.
Another thing that is very important too is the women that had, or gay men that had children, if their ex would get upset with them or whatever, they would turn them in CTS, and you would automatically lose your children. Automatically.
That was, this is Robin. She's Miss Gay Fort Worth 1991. By the way, she used to babysit my children. I'm telling my age, but
I used to babysit Robin.
but they used to anything. That's true. This is true. We've known each other forever. And if anyone got mad at you, they would go to your job, and automatically you were fired. Just whether it was true or not. They said you were gay, you were fired. You would lose your children if you were gay. It was a rough place around.
There was a pretty well publicized and celebrated case of a lesbian couple that almost lost. Well, they did lose their kids, and it was gay community came together, raised a lot of funds for them. I think ultimately they didn't get their children back, unfortunately. But yeah, it was not a good time for back in those days. Yeah, it's not like it immediately got better.
And we finally started getting the best of it, and finally started feeling like we had the rights to do certain things. And then around 1981, all of a sudden, all of our friends were becoming ill. course, at that time, they didn't know why.
April 11th was the first one.
April was one of the first ones, and we, the Imperial Court, raised thousands and thousands of dollars to fund persons with AIDS, children with AIDS, or affected with AIDS.
Well, that was one of the things that Gary Taylor, aka Raina Lee, he started to embrace his political side and was an early voice in Tarrant County's gay church movement. He was an early supporter of the Tarrant County Gay Alliance. He was also involved with the Fort Worth Counseling Center in 1985 and Fort Worth's first safe house for persons living with AIDS in 1987. Also in 1983, before that, Taylor had helped found an organization called the Cowtown Leathermen. This is a picture of them. He was one of the 12 original charter members when the club was chartered in 1984. That's Gary. There in the second. And the Cowtown Leathermen very, very generously gave me a large portion of their archive, which I'm in the process of documenting. I have if anybody's been to my house recently, I have a full-size mannequin in complete full leather gear.
I gotta walk in the door to see if
It scares the shit out of pretty much anybody that walks in, which is awesome, you know.
And why did you not model that for us?
Well, the Cowtown Leathermen are celebrating their 40th anniversary this year, and they are going to officially close the organization in September. But yeah, maybe I'll wear it for that. We'll do a special all leather edition of Yesterqueer.
I will tip you, but I won't wear leather.
It's like, let's get past the summer months. I don't want any chafe too badly. So, also in the 1980s, donning a variety of glitzy gowns, Raina Lee led a Broadway-style dance troupe of 15 different drag queens who toured the gay nightclub circuit from Galveston to Denver. On the road, audiences, if they ever lost interest in her performance, she would wink at the crowd, remove her wig, and sometimes she'd hike up her skirt and reveal a tattoo. And if you saw the trivia question on our social media today, what was on her tattoo? Did anybody know? I know Glenda knows. Did anybody know what was tattooed on Raina's thigh?
Robin knows.
Well, I know Robin knows. She had tattooed on her thigh, it read, USDA choice beef. and Glenda, you had a story about that tattoo.
Let me start with one other thing real first. Raina took a group of girls, Robin was one of them too, and they decided, the drag queens decided they were going to teach us how to do shows, so they put us in full makeup, drag and everything. Everything, and knock off the heels and everything. And
then when I become
and then we were official drag queens. And so when we were doing, occasionally when we were doing shows for luck, it depends on what show you were doing, we would lean down, we would kiss the tattoo for luck before we went on stage.
Oh, the places it's been.
And I was very thankful we did not have phones that took pictures. I am a grandmother of 5, a great-grandmother of 4, and we are very happy there's not pictures.
I, however, am very sad about that. As a historian, it pains me to know that these memories are lost forever. But
We had a lot of fun, did a lot of crazy things, but our goal was always to help the community. And that's what we were always doing. And we traveled all over the country. We did all kinds of stuff that was very important. I don't know where you're at now.
I was talking about some of the things that she also did throughout that decade. Taylor continued to perform regularly, and she earned a number of titles, including Miss Gay Fort Worth, Miss Gay Arlington, along with Miss pretty much every single gay bar in town, from OBS to Split Image.
Yes, yes.
And as Raina Lee, he was a 3-time winner of This Week in Texas' Entertainer of the Year. He also spearheaded countless fundraising efforts, including a Halloween candy drive for Fort Worth State School, along with Christmas benefits for Toys for Tots. And then in 1988, Taylor was diagnosed with acquired immune deficiency syndrome, but he remained tireless as a public figure and an advocate and an activist for people living with the disease, hosting a number of fundraising efforts and making appearances, including serving as the Grand Marshal along with Jerry Cassidy. At the 1990 Tarrant County Gay Pride Parade, this is only the second Pride Parade in Fort Worth history. This is right down the street in front of us here, where that building became the Names Project for a minute, and Rhonda May lived in it for a while. And just down the street from it was the 651, which later became the Ring the Lounge. So, Taylor spent much of the last year of his life in the Denver Convalescent Center, conducting weekly makeup classes for geriatric patients, consoling other patients living with AIDS, and continuing to perform and raise funds for others struggling with the disease. He returned to his hometown in May of 1991 to spend his last days in Fort Worth, and though Taylor and his namesake Ruta Lee were never actually personally acquainted, when Ruta heard of his illness, she sent him a note and told the Star-Telegram, "I've always wanted to be a queen. Somebody did it for me." Gary Taylor passed away from complications of the disease on August 28th of that year.
Can I add something? Right?
Absolutely.
When she was so ill and she needed to come back to Fort Worth, she called Robin right here, and we all got together, and we got her back here. We got her home.
What was your group called?
Well, not us, but no, there were a group of Butch girls, and what were they called, Robin?
The Butch Brigade.
The Butch Brigade. The Butch Brigade. Raina called the Butch Brigade, and they loaded up everything. Don't call Superman, call the Butches. Call the Butch Brigade.
Absolutely.
And they got everything back in place for her to live comfortably in Fort Worth until her passing. So, thank you, lesbians.
And then again, look at that, just a reminder, I know that over the years, Fort Worth, like many other major cities around the country, we have had problems within the community between gay men and lesbians. It's not a secret. It's an ugly part of our history. We know, but we've talked about the bars that used to come up with unique ways to keep women out.
We managed to get in there. Absolutely. Because we brought the money in there. Sure did.
But one of the things that it's kind of an unsung part of our history is that when AIDS hit the community, and it hit hard, when families, when friends and things would turn their backs on people, it was the lesbians who stepped up and took care of that entire generation of men.
I was trained by the CDC in Dallas to do pre and post counseling at the Fort Worth Counseling Center when people first came in to get tested before there was anywhere else to go. It was us. So it's amazing how much we loved each other.
Yeah, even the picnics, all the picnics we had, wherever they were, they always had the trailers there, or what do you want to call them, that would test anybody that wanted to be tested.
Free testing everywhere.
Well, those are the days when,
We lost a lot.
your tests would take a week and a half, 2 weeks. So you would just like literally
Right.
chew your fingernails to the nub. I did those a few
I
times.
did the pre-testing, and I'd explain to them what we were doing, and then they would test it, and then they'd go to the counseling center, so again, they'd have to wait. And then when I got the results back, then I had to tell them their results. Now this was back in the days there was not anything to give you to keep you alive.
1983,
So you're basically giving someone, they thought a death certificate. But we taught them how to, with diet and doing things, a better living maybe, that they could extend their lives and hope for the next thing to come along. And there were so many people there were straight people, gay people, everyone with a love in their heart helping. But it was only this little bitty community. Let me tell you about this one man that came from Germany, and I hope this doesn't offend anyone. He came from Germany, and he had gotten infected by a prostitute in Germany. And he walked into Fort Worth Counseling Center and looked at me and he said, "I hate your effing, guts." And he said, "I hate queers. But there's no one else that will help me, so I'm stuck with you." And I said, "Well, I'm so glad that you found out that we are here and we love you." And when he passed away, he was in my arms, just me and him. His whole family abandoned him. And he looked at me right before he passed and he said, "I really don't hate you." I said, "I know." But we have a wonderful community. We overcame the violence, we overcame the disease, and we still love each other.
So shortly after Gary passed, there were a number of memorials and tribute shows across the Metroplex for several weeks, which served as a testament to the impact he and his alter ego, Raina Lee, had made on local residents. Members of the Cowtown Leathermen, including artist and designer Jim Strong, created a section for Taylor as part of a larger panel devoted to lost Leathermen for the Names Project 8's Memorial Quilt. That panel was displayed at a number of venues around town. It was included in with large portions of the quilt, which were shown at the Amon G. Carter Exhibits Hall in 1993. And most recently, outside of the UTA Special Collections in October of 2022. We did a speech around that. I gave a little talk about who all of the folks on those panels were. And then in June of 1994, Glenda Gardner interviewed a number of community leaders and friends of Gary Taylor for a large article in the Alliance News, which was a local LGBTQ newspaper. Tomorrow, we will print the first part of this piece along with the contents of tonight's talk in the blog section of our website at yesterqueerfw.com, with part 2 to come next week. And this is a wonderful article. A lot of the folks that Glenda talks to in this piece are no longer with us, but their stories are incredible, and their memories of Gary are amazing. One of the things that just seems to run through as a thread in all of it was what a kind and wonderful human being he was. And then finally, on June 25th, 1994, Trinity Metropolitan Community Church hosted a Trinity Gay Pride review called Stonewall Reenacted.
I remember those shirts.
That's me.
This was a tribute to Raina Lee with the tagline celebrating our lesbian pride and heritage. I think I said in the video, I'm really glad lesbian did not catch on as a term. I was saying and throw that out. One of the opening lines of the show was, "The best way to silence a people is to rob them of their history."
Amen.
And the presentation endeavored to do just the opposite, providing speakers on a variety of topics, including our community's political, religious, and organizational history, followed by a reenactment of the Stonewall riots. Linda, what was your memory of this particular event?
Other than I I cried through half of it because I was so emotional. It was so moving because the churches, the bars, everyone worked together. We all worked hard. No one was prejudiced against anybody else. We didn't care if you went to church or not. You know, we still loved you anyway. We went to the bar, we loved them too. But it was so wonderful to have everyone together. We don't usually have drag queens at church.
You admit my church.
But if they came, they would be very welcome. And it was so much love and so much community. Raina would have been so proud of us for growing up to be such good people.
I got something to say about Raina.
Come on up here now. I've got a microphone for
No.
you.
Come to me,
Don't make me sing.
I remember back then, if y'all know where the Old South Pancake House is. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
After a show, regularly, or whoever's doing, they knew she was coming. And no, I'm serious, everybody had a good time, even the other people was watching
Miss
it,
Elvira.
fully in drag. Oh, yeah. It was a fun time.
We had our own special room set up for us.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, they loved us. They did. They loved all of us coming here.
Yeah.
I was off at university.
They had a room back and they opened up with the gay bars.
A special room for us.
Few students there.
Yeah, we rocked.
Absolutely.
And we put on a show there.
Yeah, and we tipped very well. We tipped very, very well.
Oh, yeah, and they didn't get our hand up, and they didn't have a good time. It was way back then.
Yeah, you guys have been. How many people have ever been to the old South Pancake House? Surely, it's a full-width institution. There's actually a booth at the old South Pancake House that's devoted to Van Cliburn and his partner. Somebody sent me a picture of the. They have a plaque. No, Old South Pancake House was neutral territory for pretty much everybody. Drunks of all kinds grow up at 2 a.m. and later.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Even us that were underage at that time.
Oh, you have to write a leave.
It's true because we had somebody who said they were our guardian.
You need your booth with your name on it.
Raina Lee opened doors for many of us in many ways.
We would not be the people we are today.
Actually, Raina was the first one to take me to church.
Yeah, wow.
To take me to church. She loved the Lord. She thanked the Lord every day for everything she had. And it was amazing. She was, you couldn't replace her.
Hey, Glenda, did you mention about, okay, I know the hill with Raina Lee, but remember where the zoo was? We started doing it there too, remember?
We used to do it over at the park, Forest Park right by the zoo area, kind of down.
Was that near where the little train was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, you had McCarter.
Not too far from Raina Lee Hill, just kind of down the creek. Down the creek from there.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I had a pickup truck. I cannot tell you how many kegs of beer I hauled over there.
Those cars were bad.
And I didn't drink.
What about the bathtub?
I didn't drink, but I drove the truck with a beer engine.
Good for you, designated driver.
And I was a designated driver.
Well, that was one of the problems with that park. I mean, the original Pride Parade, the original Pride picnics were held in Trinity Park. Well, we kind of ran afoul of the Fort Worth Parks Department because those exact spaces were also known to be the cruisy areas. If you guys remember from our cruisy areas talk, that was one of the ones that that's what eventually drove them into Greenway Park.
That's when you walk through like this.
Yeah, exactly. They were playing cards, you know.
They were playing cards, having a good time.
But I think we have some other folks in the audience who actually remember Raina. So if you would like to tell a story, please come up and share. We'd like you to come up and use the microphone so that people can hear you and we can get it recorded for the viewing audience at home. Robin, I know you have some stories. Robin has a lot of stories.
Come on, Robin.
Come on, Robin, come up here.
Don't you dare tell them stories all you.
Robin, please tell some stories on Blind
Behave
Eye.
yourself.
I was the designated babysitter for all the lesbians and gay men in Fort Worth. My mother was a, and she won't charge me much.
Speak in the microphone, Robin, there, so we can get you on tape.
And but my mother, her and her lover at the time, was the first lover. They owned the Purple Lady, which was the first gay bar, first gay women's bar. And Raina Lee and her husband, when I first met Raina, is I was sneaking in, making her reasons to go to the bar school. And Raina, when I was 14 and we went to
You were 14.
Yeah, but it was also like
it was a restaurant bar.
restaurant too, so.
Right.
Yeah, it was a restaurant bar. So
It's a dry heat.
Everything matters.
that was the only place people could bring their kids.
Makes it no
To
effort.
meet with their kids.
Family oriented.
Get excited enough to get
Yeah, family oriented.
And so, my mom said she was going to take us to go eat at the place that she worked at on weekends. We were going to go see a show. Well, I thought we were going to the movie theater. And that became one of the best people I've ever met in my entire life. She took us, you know, and taught most of us girls out of her, Trisha White, Lynn Christopher, Michelle Lee, and a bunch of them. It taught us how to be ladies and, you know, become somebody. And not just sit there and be a drunk. Even though we were drunk.
So Robin, let me get this straight. You went to a drag show as a child and it turned you into a lesbian. It's exactly what they've been warning us about. Is that what you've been saying?
I knew at 7 I was not right because
You were absolutely right.
I keep on that. But no, my neighbors, we lived in a big store place, and Brad was a big butch woman that worked at the party and everything, and her mother Sharon was a go-go dancer. And at the same time, my mom was like, anyway,
Talk about the microphone. I gotta have
and
this.
so I wanted to be with somebody like Brad who was going to take care of me, like Brad took care of Sharon.
Right.
And but it wasn't really, it wasn't the dykey, like butch, like, you know.
Yeah, sure.
I like the more, you know. To know that, to realize that I'm with a woman, you know, and not somebody that wanted to be a man. No, everybody has their own, you know.
Her mother was fabulous. She loved all of us. And Robin got to babysit all of everybody's children. So we could go to
Raina was such a big part of our family. She came to family gatherings and everything, you know, for, I took big meal. I took it over from my mom, you know. And my daughter, he came to one party as Gary. And my daughter said, "You're not Gary, you're my Auntie Raina." And refused to call her Yeah, I love that.
Thank you so much. It's so fun. Let them know that we did have children and we had a good time too.
There you go.
I'll give it
Anyone else out there that has a brand story?
Thank you, Randy.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely. Yeah, questions are always welcome.
So my question is, I'm a millennial, and in my lifetime, when I first came out, it was right around the time of the September 11th attacks, and at that time, it was a crime to have sexual relations in the state of Texas and in other states, let alone no same-sex marriage in any other states.
Right.
That didn't come until like 3 years later in Massachusetts. But you come from a previous generation as compared to mine as a millennial. So reflecting on where we are now in 2023 and all of the history that has gone on with that, reflect on the comparison between, your time coming out and now where we are in 2023, where we're on a totally different level now. What do you think about that? What are your reflections on that?
I'm so happy that the world has changed so that if we don't learn our history, as I said earlier, if we don't pay attention to our history, we're doomed to repeat it. So the answer is, we gotta get out there, you gotta know what those laws are, you gotta do something. Fight. Do something. Maybe not out in the streets like we did. Vote.
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 I want to say,
Be a part of your community.
and it's for, it's a fact, it's more acceptable now. You can walk down the street and hold, your husband's hand or your wife's hand or whatever. Not everybody, but it is more acceptable, which makes it a little bit more easier for you to be a little, relaxed and stuff. But then you also have to be aware of the people that still, like racism, they're still out there and for the gay people.
Well, we've seen, because of who should remain nameless. Because of the orange one, we have seen a resurgence. People feel empowered to be racist, be homophobic, be misogynist, be assholes. And I've had a lot of questions. I've talked to a lot of folks in the media who've asked me a lot of questions recently about Pride this month being Pride Month and what the vibe of our community is right now, because there seems to be a lot of fear. The right has made a lot of inroads. They've had a lot of, they've got a lot of things on the books. However, I've talked to several friends who put on Pride organizations. Tyler, who's back there, I believe, somewhere, yeah. Trinity Pride is coming up this weekend, and you know what? These guys are on top of it. They sent out a great message today about their security plans, everything. It has all been thought out, it has all been planned so that you guys can come, you can enjoy yourselves, you can put that stuff aside and just be proud.
But I think that was an excellent question, a very, very good question. What I would do and what I constantly do is try to educate myself on what they're doing that they don't want us to know that they're doing. Okay, if like Roe versus Wade or whatever it is, some things we just sneak through if we're not paying attention.
I think so much has changed because even in my life as a young millennial, the millennials were a very progressive, LGBT friendly. But now I work in an industry that has a lot of Gen Z. And I talk to people, young heterosexual men, who as a young millennial coming out as gay, I would have been afraid. But now talking to them, LGBT is a non-issue. It's a non-issue, and they're like, Gen Z is on a whole nother level, and it's like, things are moving in ways that I would have never imagined,
And if it's me, what I do, if I see somebody, I don't care who they are, if they're pink, purple, whatever, if someone's been abused, someone's being bullied, I stand up and take sides and don't let them get away with it.
That's right, anybody.
And as long as we might get beat down a time or two, but just, just don't let them get away with it. We can do it in a kind, loving way, but that's what I did. I'm like, no, we're not going to hurt that child. We're not going to beat that woman. We're not going to say that without anybody.
To put in a plug for so tomorrow night I'll be going to the premiere party for a brand new podcast. Some of you guys remember Dr. Wesley Phelps, who came and spoke about some of the big legal cases in Texas that led up to gay marriage. His podcast, I believe it's called Queering the Lone Star State, is going to premiere tomorrow. The first 2 episodes will be there. And one of the things that Wesley and I talked about at a UTA event recently was he kind of expressed a warning sign about putting too much faith in whether or not young people are going to be our saviors in terms of exactly what you're talking about. And this is where I told him, I was like, you're wrong. This generation, LGBTQ issue, I mean, the concept of sexuality, the concept of labels, means not a thing to them. They have queer friends, they have always had every one of them. I absolutely have faith in the next generation to draw us past the dark place we're in right now. Yes, ma'am.
One of the things that generations right now and these younger ones need to understand that when we were young, our parents were gay, they had gay parents and everything. There was nowhere for us to go meet unless we met at somewhere like Hobbs, it's a restaurant and bar. We couldn't, go meet other kids, or if I babysat, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's come a long, long way. I mean, they don't understand that back then we were embarrassed of our parents. I mean, not me, but there were kids who were embarrassed, or the parents
Or your parents turned against
or turned
you,
against
whatever.
them, and the whole
So you had
family
to-
shunned them.
Which I thought was bad because you drink a lot and you're in a bar and stuff, but that's the only place you can ask that you felt comfortable to meet. It wasn't like just get a social drink and stuff, and before you know it, you're in there all the time. And that was me. I was in there all the time. So.
I had a conversation with a Gen Z heterosexual man at my job, and I'm a millennial, and I got kicked out of my house for being gay. And I was explaining to him about that, and he was so shocked that was a thing, that people would get kicked out of the house for being gay. And to me, that was just a demonstration of Gen Z is just on a whole nother level. They don't know about getting kicked out of the house for being gay. They don't even think that,
We gotta disagree that way.
And they got in front of here, and what ended up happening in the generation is we ended up lying, we ended up being straight, we ended up waiting until we could get out of the household, affecting our mental health. And so that just didn't get figured out. It's not as common as it was, I would say, when we were, but it still happens because I had a boyfriend who was trans, and he went back into the closet because it got out that he was trans was really horrific.
So she, just to repeat, she said that, and you're Gen Z, is that what you said? Yeah, so she said no, she knows plenty of examples of other Gen Z people who have been kicked out and experienced the same thing. And again, this is not, I know that we all like to believe that the world has moved on and we're all in the promised land, but yeah, there's a great meme that goes around every Pride. It's like, Pride is important, and gay bars are important, and gay organizations and gay everything is important, as long as one kid thinks that being dead is better than being gay.
That's right.
And that still happens. It still happens today. Will and Grace didn't fix it. Queer as Folk didn't fix it. Yesterqueer didn't fix it. We're all trying to fix it as desperately and quickly as we can, but it's still a problem, and there's still a need for all of this.
You experienced, and you as well back there experienced the problems with the, being kicked out because of lifestyle. So that may be something, that may be what you need to, you have seen a need, You know it's there. How would we fix that? What would we do? Would we talk to the city council about laws? Who do we talk to? What do we do? There's got to be a way to fix it, just like when they were throwing us out of the bars down the street. We filed a lawsuit, and it stopped. Maybe you have a calling to say, what can I do? One voice can mean a lot. You can start a whole movement with what you just experienced.
Yeah, good question. Nino.
I think it's important to know
Come
that.
on, Nino.
Yeah, there's like a lot of
We got
young.
a mic for you.
Oh gosh.
Oh, gosh.
I was going to say, yes, Anna, and thank you. I don't know what your name is for
By
sharing
the way,
your
this is Nino
perspective.
Chastain, one of a former Yesterqueer guest.
Yeah.
Teaches drag at TCO.
Yeah, you know.
She was incredible.
I appreciate it. I was just going to say, I think it's also one thing in this kind of generational conversation to remember is that a lot of the lawmakers that are passing or that are proposing these laws are actually younger lawmakers too. It's not just like, I think we sometimes are like thinking of like, oh, it's these older folks and they're dying off. It's like the young conservative movement of people who are opposed to queerness is enormous, right? And they have children, they have queer children, right? And they are experiencing all the things that we're naming here. And so I think, yes, things have changed a lot, and also it's really important to remember that this wasn't a generational thing that is gonna die off at some point. Yeah.
I do.
Wait, go ahead, Tyler.
Supporting her as well as an educator, you get 20 minutes outside of Fort Worth, and just like we know there are two realities happening in our country right now, half of our kids are living in those realities. So while we are experiencing more advanced understanding and these kids are able to identify themselves so much earlier, they're still not in environments that are always very welcoming.
I just want to clarify something real quick, and I don't want to, I honor that, what you're saying, and that is absolutely true. As somebody who was kicked out of my house as a millennial, I completely understand, and I know that it is happening with Gen Z, and it's going to continue to happen. But I do want to say, yes, while the previous gentleman mentioned that there are young conservatives as political officials advancing these initiatives that are against the LGBT community, as a whole, I do believe that the new generation is advancing. Now, they're not the ones in leadership.
Yeah.
They're not the ones making the laws. But those people are in the minority as a whole. And I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you.
Can I say one thing?
No. Of course you can.
Reverend David, are you still out there?
Uh-oh.
Can you come here a second? This is Reverend David from Celebration.
Got a mic for you, Reverend.
Of course he wants to speak. They have initiated a group of Celebration Community Churches. It's also with Broadway Baptist. A bunch of churches have come together to create an equality justice organization and what we can do to make changes. There you go.
Back in February, there were a bunch of communities of faith that came together, not all of them Christian, to start talking about justice-related issues. And they were interested in the jail and interested in racial relations, but there's a real strong group that's really still concerned about LGBTQ justice questions. And at Celebration, we've been engaged with them. We hosted an interfaith pride service last night, which I'm sorry if you didn't make it, come next year because it was a lot of fun. It was church, but it was a little bit borderline church. It was a great time there. But I just want to say thanks to Glenda for taking in I'm a straight minister in a gay church, which is, it's not weird, but it is different. And for Glenda accepting me into the community, teaching me about the community. Tom, thank you so much tonight for teaching me things I did not know tonight. And the generation, I'm an old boomer, what can I say? You know, I'm close to 70 by now. But my children's generation, my grandchildren's generation, yeah, they're a lot better. But the struggle's still real. There's still a lot to do. But I am really grateful for my kids' generation that has taught me to open my heart up. And I'll also say this one other thing, Glenda, and then I'm going to sit down and be quiet because you weren't supposed to do this to me. There's a lot of reparation that my generation has to do yet. And my hope is that some of the small things that we do with this Justice Network, what we do through Church at Celebration, begin to repair some of the damage. And I'm here not to ask for forgiveness. That's not something that I have a right to ask for. But I'm here to say I'm sorry. And I was listening to you, Todd, talking about Raina, looking at the dates, remembering where I was then, and realizing I had no idea. And so thank you so much for educating an old Baptist preacher.
Can I say thank you to Reverend David, that after meeting him and knowing him for 6 months, I now believe there's straight people that love us.
There are, and there always have been.
I know,
And
I
again,
know,
they are probably our fiercest defenders. Honestly, Kyle and I used to host an open mic comedy night for years, and comics would come to us and say, because we would host them in gay bars. We used to do one right around the corner, a little bar called Percussions. I remember Percussions, and they would say, "Can we do a gay joke?" And we're like, "Is it funny?" And because it's like, I promise you're not going to piss off gay people. You're going to piss off straight people who love gay people. And I ain't going to defend you if they get mad at you, because that's on you. Yeah, we had a question right there.
It's more of a, somebody had a story about Raina.
Oh, yeah, please, come up. Give a story about Raina, please.
Yes.
Getting back to Raina. We got sidetracked.
And give us a